Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Alpha Team of Scotland. Lamia reek, which means happy, prosperous, healthy New Year. I'm going to go over some brief rundowns on some of the events that we have made it this far to have survived. So kind of bear with me. We have survived the most toughest year of 2017. And I would like to thank the people in this group of the Alpha Team of Scotland for their prosperous help, generous support, and the love and kindness that they have shared with this group. The names of the following is Jane, my sister Nicola, Elaine, and others, to name a few. One of the things is that we're going to be discussing for the new year is other things in relating to what will be possible events coming up. One of them is we're going to be discussing about Brexit relation. Again, the reason is because there's some new evidence as it started to unfold. So we want to try to, we want to try to make things easier for people to understand the information, the history, and, possibility of what to expect. One of the things I do wish for everyone to try to understand is that not everybody is going to be accurate with their shared information. I know that feeling. Sometimes my information doesn't always jive with everybody, but everybody's entitled to their own opinion, which is their God-given right. Anyway, here's the information that needs to boil down to. We need to stand strong for Scotland's independence. We need to stand strong for the people in Scotland. Most of the information that I've had here listed is from 2017. However, there is many questions about the research that I'm doing is called the Brexit failures. Now, I'm going to research and make a list of all the failures of why Brexit is such a failure in so many ways. Most of us think that Brexit is not going to happen. Well, I hate to bust your bubble, but I think part of it already has. But it has not gone into full effect. As many of you know, that Theresa May, the Prime Minister of England, has been pushing more attacks against Scotland. One of them was the shutdown of the Scottish Parliament in Holyrood. And in fact, let's just make this perfectly clear, okay? Holyrood is not going to take any more crap from the Tories. Theresa May's deluded and delusional dreams of being more prideful for Britain is not going to jive. So far on Twitter, there has been more attacks against Theresa May and her certain called Brexit policies. The reason this is all happening is because Theresa May, like her father, is a serial killer. And everybody had found this out by researching and Googling all the information regarding to her father. And in fact, her father was a Nazi sympathizer and also had been part of supporting of bringing Hitler to power in 1939. This is the same thing about the Queen of England. Now listen to me, folks. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to lie. I don't tell lies. When it comes to seriousness, you need to know the truth. Queen Elizabeth herself is not the rightful heir to the throne. And in fact, many people believe her mother was half Scottish. And further research in Google proves that her mother was never Scottish. She was strictly full-blooded German. This is the thing that everybody's getting mixed up on. The idea about the Queen's biography on biography.com, had claimed that she was born in England in 1926. Hogwash. The problem with that was that it's not true. Now remember what I taught you over the past year of this year. about what propaganda, what pish is, and how to detect and determine what is truth and what is not. The reality sense is that over the years I have taught many of you how to distinct the distinction of truth and lies. In the past, I have also presented to you of all the news propaganda listings of those who support independence and those who are very, hostile and very aggressive against our independence. Let me make this clear to you what I've said before. In any case, there are many news medias that has been posting out garbage. And I did a poll in the group on Facebook asking everyone who they thought was more of propaganda and news lies, who broadcast the worst lies on TV. BBC is one of the strongest type of news propaganda media channels alive today. They started their propaganda many years back during the time of World War II. Radio was the biggest thing of the day. You had shortwave radio and you had local radio broadcasting, which became the biggest thing of the day. However, BBC has now becoming more powerfully aggressive. They are known for their propaganda. They're known for telling only half the story when 85% of it is all garbage. Okay, we've talked about this for the past year. In the new year coming, we must take a stand against BBC. We also must take a strong stance against the Daily Express. The Daily Express is considered as much as being very hostile to very extremely hostile. The Daily Mail, the Daily Scottish Mail, all both connected now. The Scott Times and the Sunday Herald are all considered hostile, including the Sun paper. The only paper news media that has been more openly honest and very supportive is the National Scot. Yes, the National Scot has made some blunderous mistakes, but at least they own up to their mistakes, and many people don't do that. And in fact, these two types of news media listed are between hostile, neutral, and very supportive. Excuse me. The most positive, the most hostile and the most aggressive is BBC. Its news is known for its hostility and manipulating stories that are even 5 days old or fresh. And what they do is they manipulate and try to con many people around the world. That includes the United States. That includes all of England, including Scotland. And in fact, most of the information now is proven that how much of this had taken in one time. Many people are lying and they're trying to con their way on behalf of the Tories. Jackie Bird and Laura Kay of BBC News are the two biggest con liars on the face of this planet. Jackie Bird tried to say that the Tories, including with Ruth Davidson, had won most of the seats just prior to the snap election. We had proved and had debunked all the claims of this. It is not true. None of what Jackie Bird said and Laura Kay was saying was ever true. And in fact, the reason why BBC has propagated all this even today was to prove a point beyond recognition. We have tried earnestly to tell people all the time, do not believe anything BBC says. The reason is because in the past year of 2017, they have spreaded more propaganda and they have spreaded more lies about what was truth in the United States that had nothing to do with BBC or anything. We know this. We've dealt with this numbers of times. Me and a fellow, propaganda colleague, anti-propaganda. She is one of my fellow colleagues, and she's mostly more respected. Anytime when I hear something from BBC, I confront my fellow colleague and say, did you hear about this? Tell me if this is true or not. Within a certain amount of time, she'll come back and say, no, it's not true. So there you go. It's garbage. It's propaganda. Anything that has anything to do with BBC is not to be taken lightly or to be taken seriously. I mean, we know this. We want you to be aware of what we've been dealing with. ITV News is another news media that doesn't always get their facts straight. Now, this is something interesting, folks. You might be shocked to hear. The reason why ITV News is also controlled and monitored by the Tories government. And matter of fact, Channel 4 News with Jon Snow is the most respected TV news media. So we have to take into account of what we're dealing with. 95% falls more on BBC as the most distrusted and the most hated news media, whether it be on TV or radio. It has no bearing. The fact is that the Daily Express is another one that has used propaganda techniques based on the same ideas as BBC, but with a different twist. Which means that while BBC is sitting there as much, the Daily Express is also a supporter in the English government, the Tories, and all of the Conservative Party members. Jackie Bailey, Billy Jackie, or whatever her name, Jackie Bailey, that's it, had propagated a bunch of garbage that everybody needs to understand. The Herald, in fact, the Herald newspaper, or known as the Sunday Herald, also has propagated some lies about what she said, but they would rather believe what she says than over what we know as truth and facts of evidence that had fallen upon the evidence altogether. The Scots Times, as much as the Daily Mail, and the Sunday Herald, both have been working together in collaboration to propagate a bunch of lies that would confuse between the yes and the no voters. Our job is to convince the no voters to change their minds from no to yes. After the fact, Brexit had been imposed, and Theresa May immediately, supposedly after the snap election, had actually triggered Article 50. But what she's failed to understand is, and she doesn't realize what it's going to cost her this new year coming, is she has already been considered the most failed political leader of all of England. And over the years of history, Theresa May is a complete flop. She's a failure. She's a loser, and so on. So keep this in mind, folks. I'm not saying I hate the English people. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying directly and generally speaking is that the English people are more tolerable, but not all of them. Let me explain how you can split the cookie down the middle, just like this. What I'm saying is there are some English people who actually support more of the English government, yet they don't want Brexit. So where's the confusion here? That's a good question. Excuse me. Many people are acting dumb as a brick, and we know this. And in fact, the only thing is that the Sun has a reputation for extreme lies, fake news that will they will attack those they hate, especially against Scotland. We noticed this. And in fact, just recently, GBS News pulled a good fast one against Blair McDougall. This was so funny. What he said was, on Twitter, was that how do you justify the fact England does have free speech? Well, I said this to him. If that is true, they have free speech, then why was it that there was some 3 internet links that connected of over 4,000 people were arrested for protesting their statement against the English government system? How do you explain that? Well, Let me explain this to you. Blair McDougal, like Ruth Davidson, are both failures. I wonder if those two were ever separated at birth, because they both act and look alike in dumminess. We know this. Many people are misunderstanding the point of this. The purpose of the Alpha Team of Scotland was to debunk any lies or claims by BBC and the other news media. What we try to do is try to bring out the truth. We try to research and we input our say, as a normal, everyday type conversation with people. That's normal. I mean, it'd be like me discussing some things with you over coffee, tea, crumpets, whatever. The point is that it doesn't justify what many people are taking out of context. As I said before previously in this past year of 2017, when we talked about food banks numerous of times, what about that so-called fake nurse who was using the food banks? That was another reason she was paid by the Tories, and she was caught several times. Are you ready for this? She was caught on several accounts of being in an expensive luxury restaurant, and she's claiming that she has forced to use food banks when actually she's just the opposite. And in fact, one of my recent notes that I've taken is that the food banks will likely to increase maybe by 45% or more. The reason that is likely to happen is because of the chaos that Theresa May, Ruth Davidson are all causing. They are the reason why food banks are going up. And in fact, the Queen of England is no damn better. That's why I call her, quote unquote, the Queen of Farts. Okay? Let me make this very crystal clear to all my fellow Scots. I'm not joking. This is a special New Year's Eve message to all my fellow Scots. Remember, folks, we are not to be subjects, or never was, or never will be considered subjects to the royal crown. Let me make sure you understand this. I, myself, like my sister, Nicola, we are not subjects to the royal crown. We are not subject as peasants to the royal family. Therefore, we do not bow down to the Queen of England. We do not bow to any of the members of the royal family. That includes Lady Diana's two bratty sons, William and Dirty Harry. Okay? Make sure you understand this. I am not going to bow down in subject to these royal nuppies, because of the fact is that they're morons. Every damn member of the royal family are nothing but scroungers. They tell us we're scroungers. It's totally the other way around, folks. I'm sorry to say, but I won't lie to you. As a matter of fact, Facebook has condemned one of the pages called Crimes Against Britain as a form of hate speech. This is something that cannot be tolerated with Facebook any longer. And in fact, we're allowed to say things like this on Twitter. But Facebook, thanks to Mr. What's-His-Face, he's no damn better. I've seen him talk about racial hate in other places or on the internet, and he talks big. He's got a big fat mouth. Sorry to say, folks, but it's true. And in fact, okay, if you look at how many times now, thanks to Donald Trump, Trump is one of the biggest reasons why Facebook is attacking us for free speech. And he says, well, I'm going to abolish this hate crime attitude. Well, let me tell you something. Donald Trump is no better when it comes to committing acts of racial hate. He commits more acts of hate on Twitter than he does on Facebook. Yet Facebook is too damn stupid to even acknowledge this. Why? Because of the fact Donald Trump, just like anybody else would have done, Donald Trump is a liar. He's a con man. And in fact, Donald Trump, in a research that was done, had found out that he secretly did have contact with organized crimes. Where did that come into play? Well, here's something that's going to shock you. His mother, Mary Ann McLeod, illegally came into the country in 1929. Now, this is a deep, deep research, and I don't lie. I'm not making this up, so don't even think that I'm lying. I'm not. His father was German. Okay, so he also has Scottish and German descent in him. But here's the dirty clinch. Donald Trump's mother had joined up with the Ku Klux Klan. His father was also a Klans member. His father was arrested on several counts of racial hate crimes. Therefore, why can't we protest against it? Well, Facebook is saying, oh, you can't say this or you can't say that. Well, let me tell you something. Okay, I don't give a damn what Facebook thinks. The point is that hate crimes should be against the law, but yet we should be allowed to expose the truth against hate crimes. The same problem that we're dealing with in Scotland. Now, if you're wondering why did I bring Trump and all this into play, I'll tell you why. Trump has attacked viciously on several grounds against Scotland. And in fact, he had derogatorily said some negative garbage against Our Excellency Nicola Sturgeon, our First Minister. I have ripped Donald Trump apart at GBS News as well. And in fact, 95% of what Trump says on Twitter is hogwash. It's all propaganda. He loves to lie. He loves to act like he's king shit of the world. Let me tell you something. Not even put it past Theresa May. Theresa May thinks she's queen shit of the world. Okay? And let me tell you something. Queen Elizabeth is so dumb as a brick. She gave herself away on something in relation to all this, that how she knew that her family had connections with as Nazi sympathizers. How often is this going to go on? Well, the reality sense is simply is this. Nobody really knows. But you have to take into account of everything we've said. Why is this so important that people have to understand why I'm saying this? Too many people on every ground and every level has tried to con their way into doing things and getting away with this. Trump needs to be removed as president, either by impeachment or he gets voted out. I think it's time. There are more Americans now that can't stand Trump are realizing how much of a real lie he really is. He's turning around saying that Scotland is as bad as North Korea. Let me tell you something. Trump is a loser. And excuse my French, but he's a complete friggin' asshole, okay? I'll tell you why I'm saying this. Because Trump does not deserve the respect. He demands respect. How many times have I heard, you've heard me say this before, whether it's in posting or live broadcast or any type of video, have you heard me say this? If you want my respect, you have to earn it. It does not come for free on a silver platter. And that's something that Trump needs to get through that concrete head of his. I personally will tell you, if Donald Trump even walked in Scotland, I guarantee you'll see how many people would protest to get rid of him permanently out of Scotland. He knows he's not wanted. He knows he's hated by us. But why does he try to keep pushing right in? Well, I'm going to tell you. None of this about his state visit has actually ever been confirmed, and it never will be. Not at the rate he's going. Sorry to say. Be right back. Just got to get a quick shot. Look. If you love Scotland as much as I do, you would stand up against Trump. You would stand up against Theresa May, Ruth Davidson, David Fuzzy Mondale, and many others. You have to take a stand, people. Really, you really have to. But we have to do this in a peaceful way. As I said before, the Alpha Team of Scotland, and in Facebook too, does not endorse nor do we support any of this. The reason we don't support it is to prove a point. Many people will look at you and me like we're a bunch of nuppies. No, you're not nuppies. You're not a dotard, people. You're a hell lot wiser. You're smarter than you think you are. But you have to take that much stronger stance. And in fact, let's look at some of the other things too. The flops on the man of May and the Conservative Party due to major flaws in Brexit. Yes, and in fact, let me explain this to you. And in fact, most of her proposals in Brexit is not going to follow through because of the fact now the public has been notified of all the flaws in relation to Brexit and its failures. I have said this out of respect. As a matter of fact, I had told my sister, Nicola, I said, look, Nikki, you got to understand where I stand on this. The reason why Brexit has failed, and it's been recorded with flaws, one of them is involved in power-grabbing manifesto. Her plan, before she was made prime minister, while under David Cameron, she was head of Home Security. She held a secret that was finally exposed. Somebody blew the whistle against her, but nobody was willing to accept this. Now, maybe somebody will. And in fact, Theresa May has also stated that nobody wanted the job, and they lost the child abuse pedophile cases. No, that was not the reason why she became prime minister. That was not the reason. That was one of her biggest first major lies, caught red-handed. And in fact, she wanted the power grab. Now, in 1921, Adolf Hitler wrote a book about power grabbing, strong and stable. And what he was saying was that how to use propaganda by any means necessary to put a strong and stable into power grabbing. This is where Theresa May got her idea from. But it wasn't just there. She got her idea directly from reading the books about Hitler. Her family, meaning her father, was a Nazi sympathizer. So how many times have we gone through this to the point that people are going to learn to need to understand this? Okay? As I said before, many people are dying on the streets even today because of Theresa May. She does not care about the homeless, the poor, the disabled, the retirements, the elderly. She has no care for nobody but herself and her party, and also her power grab is as simple as it goes, 1, 2, 3. And in fact, recently, Davis had threatened to resign if Green is sacked. Well, let me tell you something. To confirm this, it is true. Damian Green was sacked, but Davis did not back up his word saying he would quit if Damian Green was sacked. So here we have another liar right there. Okay? Ross Thompson, as I said, and the Scottish Tories has abandoned the WASP issue, according to Miss Black. Now, Miss Black is one tough chick. I mean, she's like 22, 23 years old. I mean, that girl's tough. She could even kick my ass, even looking at me cross-eyed. That's enough. But she's a good leader. She's a damn good leader. I love that girl. I mean, she really has got the guts. I mean, that girl's got more backbone than I could ever imagine her being. But here you have it. And in fact, let's look at some other information that relates to all this. We have been dealing with a bunch of idiots who claim themselves to be Mr. Popular, or they claim themselves to be. Listen, the only person who's considered Mr. Popular is me, probably. And the reason I said that is, in a good way, is because the fact is I'm the one who exposes more of the truth. Isn't it time that people learn to get off their ass and do something about this? Well, of course, that's typical. But why are we dealing with this? Why should we have to keep dealing with all these people? Well, the reason we have no choice in the matter for now is because we don't want their garbage. We don't want the trash. Elaine McFarlane brought up a good point. Excuse me. And this is what she said. She said that in the country, former Czechoslovakia, known as Czech Republic, has put a tight bond on checking everybody's IDs on trains everywhere. And the reason was because of the tight security that everybody was raising up on. And she said, well, wait a minute, what about the same thing could happen in Scotland? I said, now, wait a minute. I said, the only reason why that's not going to likely to happen that bad in Scotland is because of the fact that Scotland is the most friendliest and the best weed country in the world. Why put so much a tight ID check on Scotland? The only way to put a tight ID check, even on England, is to do one way. It's to tighten up the borders and check their IDs. Because the fact is we don't want the Tories any longer in our country. They're the ones who destroyed this country since the Highland Clearance of 1707, in which, in fact, Queen Anne of England was the one who did all this. So therefore, it runs from Queen Anne to King George the First, the Second, the Third, and so on. Remember, we don't want the Tories in our country. You're going to have to understand this, folks. This is not a joke. Seriously, I have, and here's something too. What's this about? May wants UK and Scotland to work together. Wait a minute. Whoa. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Slow down, mate. The reason that's never going to happen is because Theresa May was trying to use a form of a con technique, and our Excellency Nicola Sturgeon didn't fall for it. So she's, I don't be thinking so. It's it. It's that simple. I got it right here. And in fact, what about this? David Mundell wants the Indy referendum off the table. Well, I hate to tell you this, but David Mundell, you are wrong, and it's never going to happen. We're keeping the Indy referendum on the table because the fact is the people of Scotland has spoken, and we've been heard. The mighty lion has awoken and is roaring more viciously than ever. Yes, my kind of animal. Okay, what about this one? When Myrtle Fraser had condemned Anne Blackford for wearing a kilt when placing the poppies at the memorial. Let me say this. It wasn't just him, excuse me, but also Theresa May condemned it. Well, so what? It's his honor, it's his national dress as much as mine. You got a problem with me wearing a kilt? Screw you. Okay, that's that simple. We're all in this together. Right? Okay. And then, what about this? Granted, Mundell lied, May has lied, Fraser is a constant liar, so what do you have in common? The Three Stooges. Dumb, dumb, and dumbest in a pod. Duh. But many people have need to understand how serious this matter has become. Scotland needs to be free. It will be free. Like it or not, in Westminster, it can go take a suck pill and choke on it like a couple maggots. Serves them right. They destroyed us. We're going to destroy them in retaliation, and it's called self-defense, right down to the G. They started this war. We're going to wind up finishing it. Keep this in mind, folks. They started this war. We're going to finish it. It don't matter. You have something against Scotland, get the hell out of Scotland and don't come back. Pack your shit and go. It's that simple. We're going to do the same thing with every damn Tory Conservative Party. That includes Ruth Davidson, David Mundell, Myrtle Fraser, all traitors to Scotland. Whoa. Okay? So here you have it. Why am I bringing this up prior to the new year? Because what we're going to do is the Alpha Team of Scotland is going to land base a whole entire new slate, which means that we're going to think more positive. We're going to be much stronger than ever. And we are going to fight this. The people in Scotland has had this up to here. We've been drowning in our own water. We have also discovered that the waters that England claims as their oil rigs is not really theirs at all. It belongs to Scotland and Scotland only. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If you think I'm going to sit here and allow the English government to take over my beloved country, our beloved land, our Scotland, they're wrong. The English government has got to stop doing what they're doing. When I said that we're going to retaliate in self-defense, excuse me, sorry about that, we mean just that. They were the aggressors. We were not the aggressors. We did not want England in our country to begin with. They have stolen all of our natural resources. And I'm going to explain in another video in relation to the Union of 1707. And I'll tell you why. Because the people in Scotland needs to know the truth as it is. And as long as Facebook is going to call us a form of criminals of hate crimes, I got news for Facebook. They're wrong. Facebook has committed just as much hate crime and inappropriate behavior. But let me give you one example. How would you like if I turned around and told you that they allow these porno sex bots to come in and request friends? Let me tell you, I get about close to about 60 to 200 a month with these kind of things. And Facebook says that it's not in violation of their terms of services. They're full of shit. Keep this in mind as I get ready to shut down. Remember, Scotland is the best weed country in the world, #1 country in the world, and there always will be. But remember, in this new year, don't let the Tories take you down. Thank you for watching.